So yeah, thanks all for coming. My name's Craig Priestman. I'm the user researcher for those who haven't met me before. I'll sort of run through, I guess, what we've been up to the last few weeks, like what we set out to do, what we've been up to, and what we've learned a little bit as well. Kind of pulled out a few of the little insights, and then also talk about the next steps, because that's only a few weeks left of the project, so we've got quite a lot to still get through. So yeah, basically what we set out to do for the past few weeks. I'm just going to stand for you. So yeah, the aim was basically continue with understanding the as-is journey at the minute with Northumberland in particular. So we did like a service blueprint workshop with them. We wanted to talk to drivers as well and start to validate some of the assumptions that the councils had. And the same with the operators. So we actually wanted to go out to the operators, understand the way they work, get the insight into their perspective, and get their thoughts on how the process could be improved. So what we've actually done, this is just a list of activities that we've done in the last 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. It's quite a wide range. So like I said before, we did the blueprint with Northumberland. They came in and we kind of ran the same session that we did with Sunderland at Gateshead. I also then followed up with that with a shadowing session at Northumberland's tax licensing offices and talked to the team there, talked to their assistants, talked to the officers. Also managed to catch a few drivers as they were in the waiting room to talk to them. Jenna and Barbara both ran a benefits and process mapping workshop with all 3 councils, which I'll pass over to Jenna to talk a little bit more about later. We did some one-to-one interviews with both operators, so I know Anthony joined me to go with one in Gateshead, and then Joanne came up with to do one for, I guess, Northumberland operating service. We did some guerrilla research last week or so with taxi drivers and both operators as well, so we talked to drivers in all 3 of the council's areas. So we went to the taxi drivers in Gateshead, Sunderland, and we did some interviews with drivers up in Northumberland's offices. And then just this week, basically, we started to kind of pull all the research together and do a bit of like what we classed as a synthesis of it and reviewing everything we've got and trying to pull out themes and pull out the insights that are kind of going to feed into this project and start to kind of feed that back to you. And also, me and Joanne Richardson, who's the UX director for this, she been working a lot on the project planning for the next few workshops, so I'll go in a bit more detail to go through. So this is, I guess, there's one insight from that we've kind of gathered so far that I kind of this little visual put together based on the driver license process from all 3 councils. So this is off the back of the blueprint and workshops that we ran individually with each council, and each point is just the high level stages that we identified. So just the very high level points of each step that applicants have to go through for when they're asking for a driver's license. Just got some notes here of the similarities and the differences I'm going to run through, just to kind of give you an insight into what we're learning so far and how I guess the process compared to each other. So as you can see there, like all the participants kind of get the information first. They can all get it in the same way, the same methods of phone, face to face, or online. The application packs vary in size though, but you all have to get pretty much the exact same information. All 3 have pain points around getting the correct information from applicants though, even though you've all got your own techniques and getting that information that you also struggle. The DBS is a frustration for pretty much everyone involved, I think, in this process, and you can see there's this wait time towards the end is pretty much just down to the DBS, and after that can vary in time. So both Sunderland and Northumberland utilise an internal postal system to transfer applications between different locations within the council. So that was quite interesting. Obviously we all right, it's quite a very heavy based process at the minute, and postal does seem to feed into that quite a lot. And the total time to complete an application can vary, so depending on multiple factors, both internally and externally. We've got some completion rates within 2 weeks, and then that can extend to 8 weeks. And then some people have just head back there to be 12 and 14 weeks to get an application completed. The differences in the 3, so both Sunderland and Northumberland use a knowledge test as form like a participant screener, whereas Gateshead actually have like a screener form that they issue to applicants to begin with. That screener form just generic information about the applicant, but they do ask specific questions around DBS, and that's the main focus of it. So it's about I guess the one particular example is if the applicant is like a foreign national and he's lived in the country, and then the DBS would require additional information from that country's embassy to validate who they are in their criminal record. So Gateshead is the only council that actually provides a digital knowledge test as well. The other two is all paper-based, it's marked manually as well, which obviously is time consuming as that, whereas Gateshead's process is that digital one. It's a very quick response, quite easy, much easier for the council staff to moderate that as well. Gateshead provide the classes like the super appointment, which is where the knowledge test actually falls. And this is, their aim was to kind of pull together a lot of the touch points for an applicant, so a lot of the sessions where the applicant would come to council and do a task and then go away and come back, the super appointment. That aim is to kind of pull that together and reduce the need for that. Another point, really, another difference would be Sunderland does not work on an appointment-based service. You only book a time for the knowledge test, whereas both Northumberland and Gateshead offer that appointment-based service for the applicants to kind of improve efficiency and reduce the time, basically. And another key point as well around Gateshead and Northumberland both require that applicants do a child sexual exploitation course, whereas Sunderland don't have that as a criteria at the moment. That's kind of came in recently with Northumberland the last few years, and that's similar with Gateshead as well. And there's even a few differences around that. It's not always the same course, it's not run by the same third-party provider. Gateshead have permission to kind of bring that in-house. I'm not sure if that's the same with Northumberland. And it's something else as well that we have to probably chase up with someone as well to see if that's on their radar, something they want to do. Okay, so I appreciate that some of you are already aware of that because I presented that back in the week, but I've also got this for the vehicle licence, and I've done quite a similar process. So as you can see, it is very similar across the board, really. If you get the information again at the beginning, in the same way as going face to face or online, again renewal by post. I get a key difference really is the Northumberland process, where an applicant would just receive the information, receive the pack, they would arrange their MOT test first, do the vehicle checks, and then arrange an appointment with Northumberland's licensing team to kind of go through that. Whereas it's almost like the flip side for the other two councils, where Gateshead and Sunderland both require the documentation first, that has to be reviewed by the licensing team, and then it would be going for the MOT check, and then it would come back to get the plate to go with the licensing team. I thought that was actually quite an interesting point as well. So the applicants can only ever receive the license plate and certificate by actually attending the licensing team office. It's not actually sent by post, and it's nothing that the garage do either. The garage have all their own tasks, but so obviously they do the MOT and the compliance test, but there was a lot of opportunities identified where the garage could probably do a little bit more to help this process, and that's an area that we're going to look into going forward. Another key pain point actually that across the board for this was the fact about vehicle specifications and how that's they vary dramatically from each council to council, and it seems that some of the staff members as well take on extra responsibility, so and they're not necessarily always comfortable to do that. So some staff and licensing teams have to provide additional information about the vehicle specifications when an applicant asks, does this car meet this specification, this car meet this, and they're not always that comfortable or aware of the rules and regulations around that. It's also similar with making appointments, where again, if you wanted to, arrange a test or arrange a booking, you'd have to contact the licensing team and they would do that on your behalf, which sometimes they feel like that could be done by the garage or could be done in another manner, whether it's that digital or not. Okay, so last week we did some guerrilla research. I've kind of got some numbers up there for you. So we did talking at 10 taxi drivers in Gateshead, 2 taxi drivers up the High Street and Tesco. We did some at Sunderland as well, because pictures outside Sunderland train station. And then we also did some at Northumberland, but that was mainly the licensing officers. They were coming in to process the application and talk them and chatting for like 10-15 minutes. We've also done some research with operators, so we went out to one in Gateshead, one in Sunderland, and talked to a few in Northumberland as well. We kind of caught them either when they're at the licensed office and doing a process, or we've actually kind of gone to their offices and talked to them as well. So what I've kind of done now is I've just pulled out some initial insights and just 3 themes that are kind of starting to emerge. I'm going to kind of go into a little bit more detail about them just to give you a bit of an insight. Obviously this isn't everything, but we're still kind of going through that process as we speak, but it's quite nice just to kind of give you an insight into what we're learning. So first off, an appetite for a digital process from both applicants and operators. Both shared their desire for a digital process. Public safety, I put more than just inside the car, because as we've been talking to drivers and operators, the conversations have divulged into a lot more than just the public's own safety. It's a bit about the taxi driver safety, it's about the taxi ranks, it's not specifically just about the customer in the backseat. And then also the transfer of information, so as I've kind of mentioned now, getting the information to applicants, and they just seem to be generally unclear on the process. So yeah, like I said, appetite for digital, so all applicants, operators and council staff have shared their desire for a digital process. However, what we have then is the digital literacy between the drivers, it varies quite dramatically really. I think a really good example of that was when we were doing the real research with taxi drivers. We just kind of going up to them in the taxi ranks and just, I guess, peering into their car and the technology they have available to them. One of the drivers had an iPad sat out on his steering wheel watching Netflix. He had his sat nav, he had his smartphone as well with getting his data through. He had his laptop for some reason sat on his passenger seat. So that was like, basically every piece of tech you could kind of get. And then in another interview with another taxi driver, I asked him about what technology he uses, and he just pulled out his old Nokia 3610, like a brick, and then basically put it on the desk and said it doesn't even have internet. So that kind of shows like the difference in the literacy that we're kind of dealing with here. I think you are aware of it, but it's quite good to validate that as well and make sure that whatever we do going forward has to meet their needs and their ability. And also, when we have been talking about the digital process and their appetite, there has been some scepticism around a solution, and a proportion of the applicants have said about how they don't trust digitally and talk about a bit about like online banking and making payments, and say, "I would never do that." So there is a sense of that. There's a nice quote there about wouldn't work for my generation. So obviously the taxi drivers and the older demographic are feeling that there's just not they're not really willing to change. However, though, when we dig deeper, they do start to say, "Oh well, I've done this process online before. I've got this," or I might ask my family and friends to help out. So there is a little bit of potential there. It's just I think we have to be quite careful how we go about the process. Public safety. So this is an interesting conversation that we had with a lot of drivers. Firstly, I guess they believe that the customer comfort is their priority as well. So they appreciate they have to provide a service which the customers feel comfortable, they feel safe, and otherwise they're not going to make business, they're not going to make money. That is their, I think someone said the word paramount, and public safety is their paramount concern. However, when we did start going into conversation, drivers often shifted focus towards discussing their own safety in cars, and they shared their stories of how knives pulled out on them, to deal with particular members of the public. The taxi ranks, general safety, it's not great. We actually went to one before. The day before we attended the real research, there's been a crime committed, and that was kind of on everyone's lips. So it's like that's what everyone wanted to talk about and say, where's the tax marshal's gone? So the conversation did dilute quite a lot. And DBS is obviously a huge factor of that. There was a few frustrations on, obviously not just the time, but a lot of people are saying DBS is irrelevant the day after you've got the certificate because you've got a crime, so it's not really, they don't exactly understand the value in it. And operators and drivers both CCTV in the vehicles, and to not only just the safety of the public but for the safety of the drivers themselves. However, there is a lot of, it seems like a great space, a lot of questions around it. There's obviously the data protection, if you've got cameras in the car, can you take children in the vehicle as well, can you take audio recordings? But yeah, like I say, both operators and drivers were quite keen on that. There were again skepticism around if there was CCTV in the car, who would be paying for that? Would it be the council funded? Would their insurers like that? How would that be taken? So again, a lot of questions around that area. Finally, this thing was just transfer of information. So just there's general authority around the process and what is needed from the applicants, where do they start, who do they talk to, what do they need to begin this process. Also, and that kind of feeds into the fact that timescales. Obviously, the DBS is very hard to estimate, but there's no expectations set by the authorities to inform the applicants of the process, how long it would take on average, how long a particular aspect of the process would take. And there's a lack of information really around the status of the process and where in the process an application would be. And I think a lot of the questions that applicants have towards the council is around that as well, as saying, where's my application at? Have you heard anything back about this? And things feeling like that. So now let's pass over to Jenna to kind of talk about that.
Sure, no worries. So last week there were a few councils, obviously the few of you in your room, we had a benefits session. So all of us went away and we were split into our own groups and identified what the actual benefits would be from doing this project basically. And from that we actually categorised it into different areas within each of the councils. So you had things like economy, quality of service, internal management, HR, process improvement, obviously risk reduction and policy. So from those we actually categorised them into those sections and identified what the benefits were for each of the areas or departments where you guys work. And from there we actually categorised it into how they could be measured, if any of them were indirect and if actually any of them were negative or if there were disbenefits in any way. And following that, we did a lovely process mapping exercise, and we actually mapped out in each of the councils again how it looked for vehicle renewal process. So, like we highlighted earlier on, and it was quite similar in terms of the processes. There was a few other processes within Sunderland that was slightly different, but overarching the processes seemed quite similar throughout. So we went through the vehicle renewal process and obviously a vehicle licensing process as well. And what we've done is obviously from that session, we've documented both of them. So it's within Visio, and obviously we've documented that internally in terms of how we're actually going to be measuring that going forward as well. So in terms of next steps, so like I was saying, we've actually documented those internally, we reviewed them, but myself and Craig, what we now need to do is see how we can actually tie that up with the user research, see how we can actually validate them, but at the same time, we're not just going to forget about them and hope they go away. But once this actually goes live, you guys are actually going to need to monitor that, what it looks like going forward. So how are you guys going to measure it? Who's going to own it? What date do you want this achieved by? And so like I was saying, it needs, for each of those benefits, it will require an owner, unfortunately. So, and like I was saying, the metrics, but we've got a meeting this afternoon to discuss that. But at the same time, myself and Craig, we've got an all-day session tomorrow as well to go through his user research, see how we can tie that in with the benefits, and from there we can actually move forward with that document and share that with you so that you've got something tangible to take that forward as part of the project. All good?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Scott. So I've also got a little bit of information on some of the content research that Emily, who's our content strategist for this project, she's been looking into as well. So a few of the activities that she's been doing alongside our work is some of just Google Trends, looking at search engine results as well. She's done a little bit of a content review of the website currently, and just one or two of the pages within the site to kind of get a gauge of the language used, terminology, what information is available to applicants. And also she has reviewed some of the user research that we've provided. She actually came along at some of the gorilla sessions as well to understand the user's language that they're using as they're going through the process and to understand where they want to communicate. This picture actually on the side here is a shot from a program tool called Hemingway Editor, and this you just kind of drop a copy into it, drop text into it, and it will review the reading age for this particular areas of the text. So she's kindly put this slide together just like the quick wins going forward. So these kind of points of accessibility, very high reading age and actionable, and I guess the purpose of the page is the 4 key areas that we can kind of look at going forward, which simple changes would have quite a big impact, I believe. So again, I'll run through these. With accessibility, there's a lot of complex language, long sentences and jargon within the pages themselves and the application forms. There's a very high reading age, like you saw in that picture there. There was a lot of red, basically saying that the reading age is 15 to 16-year-olds graduate. The UK average is actually a reading age of 9-year-olds. So that's what we recommend copywriters to aim to like strive to achieve, basically. But obviously the 15 to 16-year-olds will really fit with that. Next steps or the process of the application, the steps in the process are not very clear. How does the reader go about doing a process, where do they start? A little bit of what I've just done with the user research as well, and the purpose of the page as well. So there's a lot of information provided on each of these pages, and a lot of the purpose or some of the tasks or the key information gets lost because there's just so much content. It's quite hard for you to pick out what you really need. If you had a mindset of looking at the page and yet you're just having one task in mind, and then read what you need, you'd be quite surprised at how much information there is that isn't actually relevant to what you would need to know at that point. So yeah, finally, next steps going forward for the next few weeks. We're going to continue with the analysis of the research and start putting user needs that feed into the final report. We've got some further research with operators. There'll just be phone interviews that I think we wanted to talk to one in Berwick in particular to kind of validate our assumptions on rural taxi operators. So I think that'll be next week. And there's also an interview lined up with Sunderland as well, just to kind of get another aspect from them. We've got a co-design workshop, which I think is down for next Thursday the 7th, which all councils invite two or three members from each, I think, and we'll go through again some of the research that we've got and look at the opportunities going forward. And we've also got the citizen and the local authority service that I know Claire and Anthony have been working hard on to do. We're going to launch them and hopefully review that in the next 2 weeks and give a deadline to then feed back into the final output of this project. And we've also still got to kind of do the digitising of the journey. So although we did aim to do that last week, I think, with the service blueprints, we want to kind of start to create a digital mind for that. What we've done now is kind of change the plan a little bit, and we've just focused on how exactly all that. You provided a lot of information, so we wanted to make sure it's very clear, and the clarity around that is not lost. So we've needed to kind of move into that this week and next week as well.